Imagine you are standing alone, in the quiet of your room, with nothing but your thoughts. No distractions, no voices, no opinions to sway you. What does it feel like? Is there a sense of peace, or is it unsettling? You might ask yourself, what's wrong with being alone? Why do I often feel anxious when I'm by myself? Can being alone actually be a strength? In a world where we are constantly surrounded by noise and expectations, we often forget the power of solitude. But what if the key to unlocking your greatest potential lies in embracing these quiet moments? What if being alone isn't something to fear, but something to celebrate? Here's a simple example. Think of a diamond. It starts as rough stone, hidden deep underground, isolated from everything around it. But over time, with the right pressure and environment, it transforms into something beautiful and precious. The same happens when you are alone. You have the opportunity to grow, reflect, and become the best version of yourself. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we explore the incredible wisdom that comes from within. If you're looking for ways to unlock your inner strength and transform your life, you're in the right place. Please, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of you are subscribing. So please, hit that subscribe button now and drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about being alone? We'd love to hear from you. In this video, we will dive deep into why solitude is not just an absence of company, but a powerful tool for self-discovery and growth. Stay with us as we explore how embracing your alone time can lead to profound change in your life. The diamond within, unveiling your true self. When you are alone, you begin to see things in a way that others might not. The world around you becomes quieter, and for the first time, you truly hear your own voice. It's not just about being by yourself, it's about what being alone allows you to do. The noise fades, and what is left is a chance to discover something precious, your own inner truth. Think about it for a moment. When was the last time you truly listened to yourself? Not just the constant chatter of thoughts, but the deep, silent part of you that doesn't need words to speak. In our daily lives, we are constantly chasing after approval, recognition, and validation. We are bombarded by opinions, advertisements, and expectations. It's easy to forget who we truly are when everyone else's voice is louder than our own. But solitude offers a unique opportunity to rediscover that voice. It lets you strip away the layers that the world has placed on you, and it reveals something much more authentic. Many people fear being alone because they think it will expose their weaknesses or their insecurities. But in reality, solitude doesn't expose your flaws. It gives you the space to embrace them. Alone, you are not judged, and you are not forced to fit into someone else's mold. You are free to be exactly who you are, without fear of rejection or criticism. This is when you begin to see the diamond within. It's often said that a diamond is made under pressure. And similarly, in solitude, you are given the pressure to confront your own thoughts, your fears, and your desires. You begin to understand who you are, what you want, and what is truly important to you. This is the process of self-discovery. It's not easy. It's uncomfortable at times. But it is in these moments of discomfort that you begin to see the true shape of your soul. When you are constantly surrounded by others, it's easy to get lost in the noise. But when you are alone, there's nothing to distract you from the real work of personal growth. It's here, in the silence, that you begin to uncover your own strengths. You start to see the qualities that make you unique, the things that others might not see, but that you have always carried within you. These are the qualities that will guide you on your journey. You may feel a bit uneasy at first. Being alone can stir up feelings of loneliness, doubt, or fear. But these are just feelings. They don't define you. They are simply the surface emotions that need to be cleared away before you can truly see what lies beneath. Then what lies beneath is your potential. When you allow yourself to sit with those uncomfortable feelings, you give yourself the chance to transform them. You learn to be with your emotions without running from them. And that's when the magic happens. This process of transformation is not a quick fix. It's not something that happens overnight. But over time, as you continue to spend time in solitude, you will begin to notice a shift. You'll start to trust yourself more. You'll begin to understand that being alone doesn't mean being incomplete. It means being whole. You don't need anyone else to define you, because you've learned to define yourself. The more you embrace being alone, the more you realize that you are your own best companion. You are not dependent on others for validation or approval. You are enough, just as you are. And when you start to see yourself in this way, you start to attract the right people and experiences into your life. Not because you need them, but because you want them to share in the beauty of your existence. In solitude, you become your own best teacher. You begin to see things more clearly, without the distractions of the outside world. You start to understand the patterns of your thoughts and actions. You recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, and you learn to work with both. You don't judge yourself for your flaws, you accept them, and you allow them to guide you toward growth. Solitude also gives you the opportunity to reconnect with the things that bring you peace. It might be nature, it might be a quiet space in your home, or it might simply be the act of breathing deeply and being present in the moment. Whatever it is, you begin to realize that peace is not something that comes from outside circumstances. It's something that comes from within you. And when you tap into that inner peace, everything else in your life starts to fall into place. The more you sit with yourself, the more you realize that the answers you've been seeking were always inside you. You don't need to look outward for the truth. You don't need to search for happiness or success in external things. They will come, yes, but they will come as a result of the work you do within yourself. One of the greatest lessons solitude teaches you is that you are not alone in your struggles. Everyone faces challenges, but in solitude, you can see them more clearly and find ways to overcome them. You may not have all the answers right away, but you will begin to trust in your ability to find them. You will learn to rely on yourself, and in doing so, you will discover that you are stronger than you ever thought possible. As you continue to spend time alone, you begin to realize that the world outside may change, but your true self remains constant. You are the diamond that was always inside you, waiting to be uncovered. The more you nurture your inner world, the more radiant you become, and this radiance will shine through in everything you do. So, the next time you find yourself alone, don't see it as a curse or a sign of failure. See it as an opportunity, a chance to get to know yourself better, to discover your true strength, and to grow into the person you were always meant to be. You are not just passing time in solitude. You are becoming who you were always meant to be. And that, my friend, is the power of being alone. Buddhism and the path to inner peace. In Buddhism, the path to inner peace begins with understanding the nature of the mind. The mind, like a wild river, flows constantly, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent. It can be easy to get caught in the current, swept away by the emotions and thoughts that constantly arise. But what if you could step back from this river and observe it from a distance? What if you could find peace not in the absence of thoughts, but in your ability to see them for what they truly are, just thoughts? Buddhism teaches us that the mind is a powerful tool, but it is also a tool that can create suffering when not understood. The Buddha, in his teachings, emphasized the importance of mindfulness. To be mindful is to be fully present in the moment, without being lost in the past or future. It is about observing life as it is, without judgment, and allowing ourselves to experience it fully. This state of mindfulness is the gateway to inner peace. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to notice how often our minds are caught in the cycle of desire and aversion. We want what we don't have and push away what we don't want. This constant struggle creates tension, stress, and dissatisfaction. But when we stop reacting to these thoughts, when we let them pass like clouds in the sky, we start to feel a deep sense of peace. Buddhism encourages us to let go of attachment, not just to things, but also to ideas and beliefs. We often cling to our thoughts and identities, believing that they define us. But the Buddha taught that nothing in life is permanent, including our thoughts and identities. When we learn to let go of this attachment, we open ourselves up to the present moment, where true peace can be found. The path to inner peace, according to Buddhism, is not an easy one. It requires practice, patience, and discipline. It's about learning to observe our thoughts without judgment, to let go of the need for control, and to embrace the impermanence of life. But as we practice, we begin to experience moments of stillness, where the mind is no longer disturbed by the constant flow of thoughts. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is the concept of suffering, or dukkha. The Buddha taught that suffering is a natural part of life, but it is also something that we can transcend. Suffering arises from our attachment to things, our desire for things to be different than they are. But by accepting life as it is, without resistance, we can begin to move beyond suffering. The more we practice mindfulness, the more we begin to understand that our thoughts are not who we are. They are simply visitors passing through our minds. When we learn to let them go, we stop identifying with them. This is a profound shift that can bring immense peace. We stop being ruled by our thoughts, and instead, we become the calm observer of them. Buddhism also teaches us the importance of compassion, both for ourselves and for others. It is easy to be kind to others, but true peace comes when we can extend that same kindness to ourselves. We are often our harshest critics, constantly judging and punishing ourselves for perceived shortcomings. But when we practice self-compassion, we free ourselves from this inner conflict. We allow ourselves to be human, to make mistakes, and to grow. Through meditation, we cultivate mindfulness and compassion. Meditation is a tool that allows us to quiet the mind, to bring our awareness to the present moment. It's a simple practice, yet profound. As we sit in stillness, we allow the thoughts to come and go without getting caught in them. This creates a space of peace and clarity, where we can see life as it truly is. Buddhism teaches us that peace is not something we need to search for outside of ourselves. It is already within us, waiting to be discovered. When we stop looking for peace in external things, whether it's possessions, achievements, or approval from others, we begin to realize that peace is a natural state of being. It is our true nature, and all we need to do is remove the obstacles that prevent us from experiencing it. The teachings of Buddhism also emphasize the importance of right action, right speech, and right livelihood. These are the ethical principles that guide us on our path to peace. When we act with integrity, when we speak with kindness, and when we live in harmony with others, we create an environment where peace can flourish. These principles are not just about following rules. They are about creating a life that is in alignment with our deepest values. The Buddhist path is one of liberation. It is about freeing ourselves from the bonds of desire, attachment, and suffering. When we let go of the need for things to be a certain way, when we stop clinging to the past or worrying about the future, we experience freedom. This freedom is not the freedom to do whatever we want. It is the freedom to be fully present in the moment, to experience life as it is, without judgment or resistance. As we walk the path of mindfulness and compassion, we begin to experience a profound shift within ourselves. We no longer seek peace outside of us, because we realize that it has always been here. The more we practice, the more we awaken to the truth of who we are, a calm, peaceful being, connected to everything and everyone around us. In the end, the path to inner peace is not about achieving something outside of ourselves. It is about letting go of the things that cloud our vision and discovering the peace that has always been within us. Through mindfulness, compassion, and the practice of the Buddhist teachings, we can experience a life of true peace, a life free from the constant striving and struggle that so often defines our existence. Peace is not a distant goal. It is already here, waiting for us to recognize it. Solitude as a teacher, learning from silence. In the hustle and bustle of everyday life, we are often surrounded by noise, constant chatter, bustling crowds, the endless flow of information. It's easy to forget what true silence feels like. But what if I told you that silence, the very thing we often try to avoid, is one of the most powerful teachers you can have? Silence allows the mind to settle, to find clarity, and to hear the quiet whispers of wisdom that are always there, but often drowned out by the noise of the world. When you are alone, with no one else around to distract you, you have the opportunity to truly listen. But it's not just about listening to the sounds around you. It's about listening to the thoughts inside your own mind. It's about learning to sit with yourself and acknowledge your feelings, your fears, your hopes, and your dreams. In solitude, you come face to face with yourself. No filters, no distractions. It is here that you discover who you truly are, without the influence of others. And that, my friend, is where the real journey begins. Being alone doesn't mean being lonely. In fact, it's often in our moments of solitude that we begin to understand ourselves the most. We start to notice the things that truly matter and those that don't. We learn to let go of the unnecessary clutter in our minds, making space for clarity and peace. The world may be chaotic, but when you are alone, you create a sanctuary of stillness within yourself. Think about the times when you've been in the middle of a crowd, but still felt empty inside. The noise, the distractions, the opinions of others. All of these things can cloud your vision and prevent you from seeing the truth of who you are. But when you are alone, there are no external voices to influence you. There is only your inner voice, speaking softly but clearly, guiding you toward deeper understanding. It is in silence that you begin to hear that voice. Many people fear being alone because they believe it means facing their weaknesses or confronting their past. They worry about the uncomfortable emotions that might surface: regret, guilt, or sorrow. But what if I told you that these feelings are not something to run away from? They are not your enemies, but rather your teachers. In solitude, we have the space to confront these emotions, not with judgment, but with compassion. We begin to understand that these emotions are part of the human experience, and that they don't define us. Instead, they are lessons that can help us grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Silence teaches us patience. When you are alone, you can no longer rely on the external world to fill the silence. You must sit with yourself, wait, and be patient. In this quietude, you learn to stop rushing through life. You realize that everything has its own pace, and sometimes the most profound lessons come when we simply allow things to unfold naturally. There's no need to force anything. The answers you seek will come in their own time, if you are willing to be patient and trust in the process. There is also a certain power in solitude. It's in these moments that you can take a step back and assess your life from a new perspective. The distractions are gone, and you are left with only what truly matters. You can reflect on your values, your goals, and your purpose in life. When was the last time you truly asked yourself these questions? In the noise of daily life, it's easy to forget what's important, but solitude offers the space to reconnect with what really matters. When you sit in silence, you also discover the beauty of the present moment. So often, we are caught up in thoughts of the past or worries about the future. But in solitude, the past and future fade away. There is only the now. You begin to notice the small, simple things: the sound of your breath, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the feeling of peace in your heart. These are the things that truly matter, and they can only be experienced in the present moment. As you learn to embrace solitude, you also learn to let go. Letting go of the need to be constantly entertained, to fill every moment with noise, to seek validation from others. Solitude teaches you that you are enough, just as you are. You don't need the approval of others to feel whole. You don't need the constant distraction of technology or social media to feel connected. In fact, true connection comes when you are able to connect with yourself first. Only then can you fully connect with others, from a place of authenticity and self-awareness. The more you sit in solitude, the more you begin to understand the true meaning of peace. Peace isn't something that can be found in external circumstances. It's not something that can be bought or earned. True peace comes from within. It is the result of cultivating a quiet mind, a calm heart, and a deep acceptance of what is. When you are at peace with yourself, you can face the challenges of life with grace and composure. You no longer need to react to every situation or worry about what might happen next. You trust that everything will unfold as it should. Solitude also helps us understand the nature of change. Nothing in life is permanent. Everything is constantly shifting, evolving, and transforming. In our moments of aloneness, we begin to see that we, too, are part of this process of change. We are not fixed or static beings. We are constantly growing, learning, and evolving. Solitude allows us to reflect on our own transformation and to embrace it fully. Instead of resisting change, we begin to welcome it, knowing that it is an essential part of our journey. In silence, we also learn the value of self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on ourselves when we feel lost or uncertain, but solitude teaches us to be kind to ourselves, to treat ourselves with the same love and care that we would offer to a close friend. It's in these quiet moments that we can offer ourselves forgiveness, understanding, and support. We don't need to be perfect. We just need to be willing to show up, to be present, and to continue growing. Finally, Solitude reveals to us the true nature of freedom. Freedom isn't about being able to go wherever you want or do whatever you please. True freedom comes from within. It's the freedom to be yourself, without fear of judgment or approval. It's the freedom to make your own choices, to follow your own path, and to live according to your own values. Solitude allows you to connect with this inner freedom, to let go of the external pressures and expectations that weigh you down. When you are free from the need for validation, you are truly free to live as your authentic self. So, the next time you find yourself alone, don't run from it. Embrace it. See it as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to discover the power that lies within you. In solitude, you will find the answers you've been seeking, and you will unlock the diamond that has always been there, waiting to shine. The wisdom of detachment, letting go of external validation. There comes a time in everyone's life when the desire for approval from others becomes overwhelming. We crave recognition, praise, and a sense of belonging. But here's the truth. Seeking validation from others can trap you in a cycle of dependence. The more you rely on external validation, the more your peace is in the hands of others. It's like holding a fragile balloon. The moment someone lets it go, it floats away, and you're left with nothing but emptiness. What if we could free ourselves from this cycle? What if, instead of looking outward for validation, we looked inward? The wisdom of detachment is not about rejecting others or avoiding relationships. It's about understanding that your sense of worth does not come from anyone else's approval. You are already enough. When you let go of the need to be constantly validated, you open up space for self-acceptance. Imagine living a life where your happiness isn't dependent on a compliment, a like on social media, or someone else's praise. Can you feel the freedom in that? Buddhism teaches us about the importance of non-attachment. The idea is simple. Attachment to external sources of happiness and validation is the root of suffering. The more we cling to these sources, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment. The Buddha taught that true peace comes from within. When we detach from the constant need for validation, we tap into a deeper, more lasting sense of self-worth. This doesn't mean we stop interacting with the world or caring about others. It means we no longer let our worth depend on what others think of us. Think about it. When you are not worried about pleasing others, you can make decisions that are true to yourself. You can follow your passions without the fear of judgment. You can act in ways that align with your values without worrying about the opinions of those around you. That kind of freedom is priceless. It's like having a weight lifted from your shoulders. You can breathe deeply, knowing that you are enough, just as you are. But this kind of detachment takes time and practice. It's not something that happens overnight. Just like a plant needs water, sunlight, and care to grow, so too does the practice of detachment. It requires patience and mindfulness. But with each day, you'll start to notice small changes. You'll feel less bothered by criticism. You'll find that your sense of worth is no longer tied to other people's perceptions. You'll begin to see the beauty in simply being yourself, without needing anyone else to validate your existence. Detachment also helps us to embrace the present moment. When we are constantly seeking validation from others, we are often focused on the past or the future. We worry about what others might have thought about us yesterday or what they might think tomorrow. But when we detach from the need for validation, we free ourselves from these worries. We can be fully present in each moment, experiencing life as it is, without the pressure of external expectations. This isn't to say that we should stop caring about the people around us. Of course, we should continue to show love and compassion to others. But our actions should come from a place of love, not a need for approval. When we detach from the need to be validated, our relationships become healthier and more authentic. We interact with others out of genuine care, not out of a desire to be accepted or praised. Think about a time when you felt truly free. Maybe it was when you were alone, away from the noise of the world, doing something that brought you joy. In those moments, you weren't concerned with what others thought. You were simply being yourself, and that was enough. That's the power of detachment. When we let go of the need for validation, we allow ourselves to experience life fully, without fear or hesitation. It's important to remember that detachment isn't about being indifferent. It's not about becoming cold or distant. It's about finding peace within yourself, regardless of what happens around you. When you detach from the need for validation, you stop letting the opinions of others dictate your emotions. You become your own source of validation. You no longer need others to confirm your worth because you already know it. One of the most freeing aspects of detachment is that it allows you to let go of the past. How often do we cling to past mistakes, regrets, or failures? We let these things define us, holding us back from moving forward. But when we practice detachment, we can let go of these burdens. We understand that our past doesn't have to determine our future. We are not our mistakes. We are not the opinions of others. We are simply ourselves, and that is enough. As you start practicing detachment, you may find that you feel more peaceful and content. You may also notice that your relationships with others improve. When you stop seeking validation, you stop needing to control others' opinions. This creates space for genuine connections based on mutual respect, not on a desire for approval. It's also important to remember that detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about the world around you. It simply means that your happiness no longer depends on the world's approval. You can still care deeply for others, pursue your passions, and make a positive impact. But you do so without the constant need for recognition or validation. You do so because it brings you joy, not because you need others to tell you it's worth doing. At first, detachment may feel uncomfortable. It may feel strange to stop seeking approval from others, but over time, you'll begin to see the beauty in it. You'll feel lighter, freer, and more connected to your true self. You'll realize that you don't need anyone's approval to be happy. You are already enough, just as you are. So, as you continue your journey, remember that detachment is not about running away from the world. It's about finding inner peace and freedom. It's about letting go of the need for external validation and embracing the truth that you are valuable, worthy, and enough. Simply because you exist. This is the wisdom of detachment, and it holds the key to a life of true happiness and fulfillment. Meditation and mindfulness, embracing inner strength. When the world outside is loud and chaotic, the quiet inside can feel like a sanctuary. But how do we find this inner peace? The answer lies in two ancient practices: meditation and mindfulness. These practices are not just about sitting still or focusing on your breath. They are about learning to be present with yourself, to truly experience the moment, and in doing so, to connect with the strength that lies within you. Imagine this. You wake up early in the morning, the world is still, and everything is calm. You close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just sit. In that moment, you are not thinking about the past, nor worrying about the future. You are simply here. The peace you feel is not something you have to search for. It is already there, within you. You just need to create the space to experience it. This is the essence of meditation. Meditation teaches you to quiet the noise in your mind. It trains you to focus on the present moment, to let go of the distractions that pull you in 1,000 directions. The more you practice, the more you realize that the answers you seek are not out there in the world, but inside you. Every moment spent in meditation is an opportunity to tap into the stillness within and uncover the strength that has always been there. Mindfulness, on the other hand, takes this practice into your everyday life. It is about being fully aware of what you are doing, no matter how simple the task. Whether you are eating, walking, or even having a conversation, mindfulness asks you to be present in every moment, to experience it fully without distraction. It's about noticing the small things, the feel of the sun on your skin, the taste of your food, the sound of your footsteps, and in doing so, it helps you reconnect with the world and with yourself. At first, meditation and mindfulness can feel like foreign concepts. It might feel awkward to sit in silence or to pay attention to every tiny detail of your life. But like any new skill, it takes time to build. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Slowly, you begin to notice a shift. You find yourself becoming less reactive to the stresses of life. You don't feel as pulled by the opinions of others, and you no longer feel overwhelmed by your emotions. Instead, you become more centered, more grounded, more at peace with yourself. This inner peace is not something you can force. It is a natural byproduct of meditation and mindfulness. When you stop chasing after external validation and distractions, you give yourself the space to simply be. In that space, you can begin to heal, to grow, and to become more connected to the person you are meant to be. The beauty of these practices is that they don't require any special tools or rituals. All you need is a moment of stillness and a willingness to be present. It's not about being perfect. It's not about clearing your mind completely. It's about learning to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. It's about creating a relationship with your mind where you can simply watch the thoughts come and go without feeling the need to act on them. And just like a diamond, you are not born perfect. You are a work in progress, and meditation and mindfulness are the tools that help you refine yourself. With each practice, you become more aware, more present, more connected to your true self. Over time, you will notice a deep sense of calm that runs through your life, no matter what challenges or distractions come your way. This calm becomes your strength. As you meditate, you begin to understand that true power doesn't come from controlling the world around you. It comes from learning to control your own reactions. Life will always have its ups and downs, but when you are grounded in the present moment, you can face anything with calmness and clarity. The beauty of mindfulness is that it allows you to live with intention. Instead of reacting out of habit or impulse, you start to respond with awareness. You choose your actions, your words, your emotions, not because of what others expect, but because it aligns with your values and your truth. You begin to live authentically without being swayed by external circumstances. Through meditation and mindfulness, you discover that you don't need to be constantly distracted to feel fulfilled. You don't need to seek validation from the world around you. Instead, you find fulfillment within yourself in the simple act of being present. This is true inner strength. When you embrace these practices, you learn to embrace yourself. You learn to be alone without feeling lonely. You learn that your worth is not tied to what others think of you, but to who you are when no one is watching. You are enough, just as you are. And this realization is the key to unlocking your true potential. Over time, meditation and mindfulness become a natural part of your life. You no longer need to force yourself to be present. It becomes second nature. Your mind becomes quieter, your heart becomes fuller, and you start to see the beauty in every moment. You realize that the more you give yourself the gift of stillness, the more you unlock the diamond that lies within you. In this space of calm, you begin to understand that being alone is not a burden, but a gift. It is in these moments of solitude that you truly discover who you are. And when you connect with your true self, you discover a strength you never knew existed. You are not just surviving. You are thriving, radiating peace, power, and clarity. Meditation and mindfulness help you uncover this inner strength, guiding you back to yourself whenever life pulls you in 1,000 directions. They are the tools that allow you to shine in the quietest moments, to find your true worth, and to live with purpose and peace. And as you continue on this journey, you will discover that the more you connect with your inner stillness, the more you connect with the true power that has always been within you. Self-discovery through loneliness, embracing your journey. When you're alone, there is no one else to define you, no voices to tell you who you are or what you should be. It's just you. In this quiet space, you have the opportunity to meet yourself for the first time. The world is constantly trying to pull you in different directions, telling you what you should think, what you should wear, what you should do. But when you're alone, the noise of the world fades away, and you're left with only your true self. Loneliness, in this sense, isn't a curse, it's a gift. It's in these moments of solitude that you can begin to peel back the layers that have been placed on you over time. Society, your friends, your family, they all have their ideas of who you should be. But who are you, really? If you strip away all the labels, all the titles, what is left? In these moments of isolation, you find your core, your essence, your truth. Think about it. When was the last time you truly sat with yourself, just for a moment, without any distractions? The truth is, many people are afraid of silence. They fill their lives with noise, with activity, because they are terrified of what they might find when they look inward. But the reality is, within that silence lies your deepest wisdom. Within that silence is where you start to understand who you really are, beyond all the external influences. In Buddhism, there is a powerful teaching about the importance of self-reflection and mindfulness. It is in solitude that we begin to connect with our true nature, and through meditation, we learn to be at peace with it. The Buddha spoke of the power of stillness and quietude, where the mind can settle and the soul can speak. It's in these quiet moments that you can hear your own thoughts, your own desires, and your own fears. And when you face these things head-on, you begin to discover who you truly are, without the masks. Loneliness teaches us about our own resilience. It's in moments of solitude that you begin to recognize your own strength. You realize that you don't need anyone else to complete you. You are already whole. The world may tell you that you need to be part of a group, that you need validation from others, but in reality, you are already enough. You have everything you need within you. Loneliness allows you to reconnect with that truth. But this journey of self-discovery is not easy. It's not about finding answers to every question you have. It's about learning to be comfortable with uncertainty. When you're alone, you confront your fears, your doubts, your insecurities. These are the things you often try to avoid by surrounding yourself with people, distractions, and noise. But when you embrace solitude, you give yourself permission to feel whatever comes up, without judgment, without fear. And in doing so, you begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. The more you allow yourself to be alone, the more you discover what truly matters to you. You start to recognize what brings you peace, what makes you feel alive, and what holds you back. Loneliness has a way of stripping away the unnecessary. It forces you to face your truth. The more you embrace this truth, the more you are able to live authentically. Through the practice of mindfulness, you learn to observe your thoughts without attachment. In the beginning, it might feel uncomfortable. Your mind will race, filled with worries, regrets, and desires. But with time, you begin to let go of these distractions. You stop identifying with your thoughts. You see them for what they are, just thoughts. And with this realization, you begin to find freedom. You realize that you are not your thoughts, your past, or your circumstances. You are something much deeper than that. In these moments of solitude, you learn to trust yourself. You begin to rely on your own inner wisdom. You stop seeking validation from others because you recognize that your worth comes from within. The opinions of others become less important, and you start to listen to your own voice. This is the power of loneliness. It teaches you to trust your own judgment, to trust your intuition, and to trust your heart. Self-discovery through loneliness is not about escaping the world. It's about embracing it in a new way. It's about finding peace within yourself so that you can bring that peace into the world. When you are at peace with yourself, when you understand who you truly are, you are better equipped to navigate the challenges of life. You no longer seek happiness outside of yourself because you have found it within. You no longer seek approval from others because you have already accepted yourself. In Buddhism, there is a practice called vipassana, a deep, contemplative meditation that allows you to observe the impermanence of all things. It's a practice that helps you understand the nature of your mind and the fleeting nature of all experiences. When you are alone, you have the space to practice this kind of mindfulness. You begin to observe your thoughts and emotions without attachment, and you start to realize that they are just passing moments in time. This understanding brings a deep sense of freedom. You learn to let go of the need to control, to change, or to hold on to anything. You simply observe, and in that observation, you find peace. The journey of self-discovery is not about achieving a specific goal or finding a destination. It's about embracing the process, embracing the journey itself. The more you learn to be alone, the more you learn to be at peace with yourself. And in this peace, you find your true strength. So, the next time you find yourself alone, instead of running from it, embrace it. See it as an opportunity to connect with your true self. Welcome the silence. Let go of the need to fill every moment with noise. Instead, sit in stillness and let the wisdom that resides within you rise to the surface. Because in that silence, in that solitude, you will find everything you need. The Buddha's teachings on solitude and reflection. The Buddha once said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." This simple statement holds profound wisdom, especially when we consider it in the context of solitude. In our daily lives, we are often bombarded with the noise of the world around us. The constant chatter, the opinions of others, the expectations of society. All these forces shape how we see ourselves and the world. But when we take a step back and embrace solitude, we allow ourselves to reconnect with our true nature. Solitude, in the Buddhist tradition, is not about isolation or loneliness. It is about the space to be with yourself, to reflect, and to gain clarity. The Buddha spent many years in quiet meditation, seeking understanding. He knew that only through stillness could he truly begin to understand the nature of suffering and the path to enlightenment. And this is the core of the Buddhist teachings on solitude, that in silence we find wisdom. Imagine the mind as a pond. When the water is disturbed, it's hard to see through it. The surface is chaotic, and the reflections are unclear. But when the water is still, it becomes clear, calm, and reflective. In the same way, when we take time for ourselves, away from the distractions of the world, our minds become clearer. We can reflect on our actions, our thoughts, and our emotions with more understanding. Solitude allows us to see ourselves without the distortion of external influences. The Buddha often spoke of the importance of mindfulness and meditation. These practices are not about avoiding the world, but about engaging with it from a place of clarity. When we meditate, we are not escaping from reality. Rather, we are learning to experience it more fully. In solitude, we have the chance to observe our thoughts without judgment. We can watch as they come and go, understanding that they are not who we are. We are the observer, not the thoughts themselves. In the busy world we live in, it's easy to forget this truth. We rush from one task to the next, constantly interacting with others, and never really taking the time to check in with ourselves. But the Buddhist teachings remind us that true peace comes not from external sources, but from within. When we are alone, we have the opportunity to access this inner peace. It's not a peace that can be given to us by someone else. It is a peace that we must cultivate for ourselves. Through solitude, we can also develop compassion. The Buddha taught that compassion begins with ourselves. When we are constantly surrounded by people and distractions, we often neglect our own needs and emotions. But when we are alone, we have the chance to truly care for ourselves. We can sit with our pain, our fears, and our joys, and learn to treat them with kindness. This self-compassion is the foundation of compassion for others. When we learn to be gentle with ourselves, we can extend that same gentleness to those around us. But solitude is not always easy. It can bring up uncomfortable feelings, loneliness, fear, even sadness. These feelings are natural and part of the process. The Buddhist teachings encourage us to sit with these emotions, to observe them without attachment, and to let them pass. Just as clouds move across the sky, our emotions too will pass if we allow them to. The key is not to run from them, but to embrace them with understanding. The Buddha's life was one of great solitude. After leaving his life as a prince, he spent many years in meditation, seeking enlightenment. He didn't find peace by avoiding his thoughts, but by facing them directly. In this way, solitude becomes a form of courage. It takes courage to be with ourselves, to face our inner world without distractions. But this is the only way to truly understand ourselves and our place in the world. When we spend time in solitude, we begin to understand the impermanence of life. The Buddha taught that everything is in a constant state of change. Our thoughts, our emotions, and our circumstances are all fleeting. Nothing lasts forever. This understanding of impermanence allows us to let go of attachment. We stop clinging to things, whether it be people, possessions, or even our own ideas of who we are. In solitude, we can reflect on these truths and begin to release our attachments, finding peace in the process. The Buddha also emphasized the importance of finding balance in life. Solitude is not about withdrawing from the world entirely. It's about finding the right balance between being with others and being with ourselves. It's about understanding that we don't need constant validation from the outside world. We can find our own sense of worth and peace within. When we are alone, we can reflect on what truly matters to us, without the influence of others. In the silence of solitude, we also find the opportunity to let go of our ego. The ego thrives in a world full of distractions, where we are constantly trying to prove ourselves. But in solitude, we are forced to face ourselves without the facade we present to the world. This can be uncomfortable, but it is also liberating. When we let go of the need to impress others, we can finally be free to just be. And this freedom is what leads to true happiness. The Buddhist teachings on solitude remind us that it is not a punishment, but a gift. It is a chance to reconnect with ourselves, to understand our true nature, and to find peace amidst the chaos of life. When we embrace solitude, we open the door to transformation. We stop looking for validation outside of ourselves and start finding it within. We stop running from our emotions and start learning from them. And in the process, we become more whole, more at peace, and more aligned with our true purpose. So, the next time you find yourself alone, instead of feeling uncomfortable or anxious, take a moment to reflect. Embrace the silence and see what it has to offer. You may find that in solitude, you are not alone at all. You are simply reconnecting with the most important person in your life, yourself. And in that connection, you may find the wisdom, peace, and strength you've been searching for all along. From isolation to liberation, understanding true freedom, being alone can often feel like a heavy burden. The world tells you that you need to be surrounded by people, be busy, or be constantly entertained. But, in truth, there is something powerful in the quiet moments of isolation. It's not about being lonely, it's about being free. The freedom that comes from within, the freedom that allows you to hear your thoughts without interruption, the freedom to grow without influence from others. When you sit in stillness, the noise of the world fades away. It's easy to think that in solitude, you lose something. But, in fact, you gain everything. The world may try to tell you that you need validation, approval, or constant connection, but these are the very things that keep you bound. In silence, there is no need for validation. You don't need anyone else to tell you who you are or what you should be doing. You can simply exist in your own truth, and that is a form of freedom that many never experience. It's in these moments of solitude that the mind begins to show its true nature. Without the distractions of other people's opinions, you can start to observe your thoughts more clearly. You see what drives you, what scares you, and what truly matters. The process of looking inward isn't always easy. It can be uncomfortable at first. There is nothing to hide behind, no one to distract you from your own emotions. But as you learn to sit with yourself, you discover the depth of your mind, and slowly, you begin to understand your true nature. This is where liberation starts. True freedom is not about running away from your emotions or your thoughts. It's about facing them head-on, without fear. It's about realizing that you are not your thoughts, and that you don't have to be ruled by them. When you are alone, you are free to explore the deepest parts of your mind. You are free to think without judgment, to feel without guilt, and to be without comparison. The world will always try to push its noise into your life. But when you are comfortable in solitude, you realize that it is not the world that defines you. It is you who defines yourself. Solitude gives you the space to connect with your own heart. In the rush of daily life, it's easy to forget what you truly want or need. But when you're alone, you are forced to face those desires. You are forced to decide what's important to you and what isn't. It's in these moments of reflection that you find clarity. You realize that all the things you thought you needed to be happy were merely distractions. The true source of happiness lies within you, in your ability to be content with who you are, just as you are. Through this process, you begin to shed the layers of conditioning that have been placed on you throughout your life. Society tells you what success looks like. It tells you what happiness should feel like. But when you are alone, you realize that these are not universal truths. They are simply ideas, shaped by the world around you. Solitude helps you strip away these false notions, so you can discover your own truth. You start to understand that true freedom comes not from conforming to others' expectations, but from following your own path. As you grow more comfortable in your own company, you begin to experience a deeper level of peace. It's not the kind of peace that comes from external circumstances. It's not the kind of peace that comes from having the right job, the perfect relationship, or the ideal life. No, this peace comes from within. It's the peace that arises when you stop chasing after external sources of happiness and start nurturing the happiness that already exists inside of you. This is where you start to see the beauty in being alone. The fear of isolation slowly dissolves, and in its place comes a sense of empowerment. You realize that you don't need anyone else to feel whole. You are already complete, just as you are. This realization is liberating. It frees you from the constant need to prove yourself to others, from the constant comparison that we are all so prone to. Over time, you begin to embrace the idea that isolation is not the enemy of freedom, it is the doorway to it. In solitude, you can hear your own voice more clearly. You can make decisions that align with your true values, not the expectations of others. You can act without fear of judgment, because you know that your worth doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. The more you embrace this freedom, the more you will see the world in a new light. You'll begin to understand that true liberation isn't found in the noise and the chaos of life, but in the stillness of your own heart. And when you emerge from your solitude, you will do so as a different person. The time spent in isolation has transformed you. You are no longer defined by the opinions or expectations of others. You are no longer chasing after things you don't need. Instead, you carry with you a sense of inner strength and peace that cannot be shaken by the world around you. This is the power of solitude. It is not something to fear. It is not something to avoid. It is something to embrace. Because in the quiet of your own mind, you will find the truest form of freedom that exists, a freedom that comes from within and cannot be taken away. When you understand this, you will no longer look at being alone as a curse. Instead, you will see it for what it truly is, a powerful opportunity for self-discovery, growth, and liberation. So, the next time you find yourself alone, don't fear it. Don't rush to fill the silence with distractions. Sit with yourself. Listen to your thoughts. Reflect on your life. And in that moment, you will experience the true freedom that comes from being completely and utterly yourself. The role of self-compassion in solitude. Listen carefully. There is a voice inside you. Sometimes it is gentle, kind, and encouraging. Other times, it is harsh, critical, and unforgiving. When you are alone, this voice becomes louder. It reminds you of your past mistakes, your failures, your flaws. It whispers doubts into your mind, making you question your worth. But what if I told you that this voice is not your enemy? What if, instead of fighting it, you learn to understand it? Most people fear being alone, not because they dislike solitude, but because they dislike themselves. When there is no one around, they are left with only their thoughts. And often, those thoughts are filled with judgment. I am not good enough. I have failed too many times. No one cares about me. These words echo in the silence, making loneliness feel like a heavy burden. But this is where self-compassion comes in. This is where everything changes. Imagine a small child who has just fallen while trying to walk. He looks up at you with teary eyes, afraid and hurt. Would you scold him? Would you tell him he is worthless? No. You would pick him up, wipe his tears, and encourage him to try again. You would remind him that falling is part of learning. Now ask yourself, why don't you treat yourself the same way? Why do you punish yourself for every mistake? To be alone and at peace, you must first be kind to yourself. You must become your own protector, your own guide, your own best friend. Every time your mind speaks harsh words, pause. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, would I say this to someone I love? If the answer is no, then don't say it to yourself. Change the words. Replace self-criticism with self-compassion. Instead of, I am not good enough, say, I am learning, and that is enough. Instead of, I always fail, say, every failure is teaching me something valuable. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is part of life. No one can escape pain, but we can choose how we respond to it. When you are alone, and your mind begins to attack you, do not fight it. Instead, sit with it. Observe it. See it for what it is, just thoughts, just passing clouds in the sky of your mind. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer. There is an old Zen story. A young monk once came to his master, troubled by his own mind. Master, he said, I cannot stop my thoughts. They keep telling me I am not good enough. The master smiled and poured tea into a cup. He kept pouring until the cup overflowed. What are you doing? The monk asked. The cup is already full. The master nodded. Yes, just like your mind. You keep filling it with thoughts, but you do not empty it. The monk understood. To find peace, he had to let go. You too must let go. When you are alone, do not let your mind drown you in negativity. Instead, let solitude be your healing space. Take care of yourself the way you would take care of a dear friend. Eat well, rest, breathe deeply. Speak to yourself with kindness. Celebrate your small victories. Forgive yourself for the past. In solitude, self-compassion is your greatest companion. It is the warmth that protects you from the coldness of self-doubt. It is the light that guides you through the darkness of loneliness. It is the strength that allows you to stand tall, even when no one is watching. Being alone does not mean being abandoned. It does not mean being broken. It means you have the rare opportunity to truly know yourself. It means you have the space to heal, to grow, to love yourself as you are. And when you master this, when you learn to be your own source of comfort, solitude will no longer be something you fear. It will be something you cherish. So the next time you are alone, listen, not to the voice of doubt, but to the voice of kindness. Let it remind you that you are enough. Let it remind you that you are worthy of your own love. Because in the end, the only relationship that lasts a lifetime is the one you have with yourself. Transforming challenges into growth through alone time. The path to growth is never smooth. Life, by its nature, throws challenges our way. Sometimes it feels as though the world is pressing against us, testing our limits. But in these moments, it is easy to forget something important. The challenge itself is not the enemy. It is the key to our evolution. When we stand alone, facing the weight of the world, we have the greatest opportunity for growth. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed or lost. Perhaps you were struggling with something deeply personal, a relationship, a decision, a failure. In these moments of difficulty, we often look outward, seeking answers, seeking comfort from others. But if we are brave enough to turn inward, we will find that everything we need is already within us. The silence, the stillness, the aloneness, they offer us the chance to listen, reflect, and find the solutions we seek. Being alone during tough times is not about isolation or loneliness. It is about turning the outside world off so we can tune into the wisdom of our own hearts. Alone time does not mean being without others. It means being with yourself in your purest form. When we allow ourselves to simply be, without distraction, we create the space for growth to occur. We learn to trust ourselves and rely on our inner wisdom. Life's challenges are like the rough stones that surround the diamond. At first, they seem harsh and unyielding, but over time, with patience and perseverance, they reveal the brilliance within. Alone time allows us to face these challenges head-on. When we are alone, we are forced to confront our own fears, doubts, and insecurities. These are not obstacles to avoid. They are opportunities to evolve. Consider a person who has been hurt, perhaps by someone they love or by a mistake they made. The natural instinct is to seek comfort, to escape the pain, and to distract ourselves from the hurt. But when we sit with the pain in solitude, we allow ourselves to truly heal. Alone time allows us to process the emotions, reflect on what happened, and learn from it. We can ask ourselves, what did this teach me? How can I grow from this experience? The process of transformation through solitude is not always easy, but it is always worth it. When we are alone, we are not running from anything. We are facing our fears and allowing ourselves to grow stronger in the process. It's like a seed buried deep in the soil. At first, it is dark, it is cold, and it seems as if nothing is happening. But underneath the surface, the seed is growing, breaking through, and reaching for the light. Our personal growth works the same way. We cannot always see the changes right away, but the more we sit with ourselves in solitude, the more we begin to understand who we truly are. When we stop running from our challenges, we can start to see them from a new perspective. Instead of seeing them as burdens, we begin to see them as lessons. Each challenge is an invitation to become more resilient, more compassionate, more understanding. Every time we face a difficulty alone, we have the chance to prove to ourselves that we are capable of handling anything that comes our way. And in the process, we grow stronger. Solitude helps us clear the mental clutter that keeps us from understanding our true selves. When the world is silent, we can hear the voice of our inner wisdom more clearly. We can see our patterns, our behaviors, and our thoughts in a new light. With this awareness, we can change the way we approach life's challenges. Instead of reacting from a place of fear or anger, we can respond with calmness and clarity. This is the power of solitude. It allows us to transform our reactions into thoughtful responses, our confusion into clarity. There's a great truth in the idea that our greatest growth happens when we are alone. When we are surrounded by others, we are constantly influenced by their opinions, their judgments, and their expectations. But when we are alone, we are free to listen only to our own voice. We can trust ourselves, without the noise of the outside world. It is in these quiet moments that we realize we are enough, just as we are. We do not need to rely on anyone else to validate us. Alone time teaches us self-sufficiency and self-love. When life feels heavy, it can be tempting to seek distractions, but real growth happens when we sit with discomfort and allow it to guide us. It's easy to distract ourselves with entertainment, social media, or even relationships, but when we take the time to be truly alone, we begin to see the wisdom that resides within us. We don't need to look outward for answers. The answers are already inside. And the more we practice this, the more we come to trust ourselves. The challenges we face in life are the catalyst for growth. Alone time gives us the space to process these challenges, to reflect, and to learn. We are not meant to be perfect, but we are meant to grow. Solitude is the most powerful tool we have for personal transformation. It allows us to face our fears, process our emotions, and come out stronger on the other side. When we are alone, we have the opportunity to find our true purpose. We can ask ourselves the big questions. Who am I? What do I want from life? What do I truly believe in? These questions are not easy to answer, but in the stillness of solitude, we begin to understand them. We find clarity about our goals, our passions, and our values. Alone time allows us to reconnect with the deepest parts of ourselves. As we face the challenges of life, it's important to remember that we are never truly alone. Even in the darkest moments, we carry within us the light of our own strength and wisdom. The more we learn to trust this inner guidance, the more we realize that we are never alone. And through this trust, we begin to transform. Alone time is not a curse, it is a gift. It is the space where true growth happens. In the end, solitude is not just about being by yourself. It is about being with yourself. It is about accepting who you are, embracing your flaws, and finding the strength to overcome your challenges. Alone time gives you the chance to grow, to reflect, and to become the person you are meant to be. So, the next time you feel challenged, don't be afraid to sit in silence. In that space, you will find the answers, the strength, and the wisdom you need to grow. Alone, you are not weak. Alone, you are a diamond waiting to shine. Conclusion: embrace your diamond self. Now that we've journeyed together through the power of solitude, let's pause for a moment and reflect. You've learned that being alone doesn't mean being empty. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's in the quiet, in the stillness, that you uncover the true brilliance of your spirit, the diamond that you've always been. It's not about changing who you are, but rather about realizing the incredible potential that lies hidden within you, waiting to emerge. Think about all the times you felt disconnected or lost, times when you wished for someone else to fill that void. But in those moments, there was a lesson waiting for you. The lesson that everything you need is already inside you. Solitude teaches you that you are whole, complete, and enough. You don't need to search outside for validation, love, or approval. You only need to turn inward and listen. When the noise of the world quiets down, when the distractions fade away, the voice within you becomes clearer. It's the voice of wisdom, the voice of peace, and the voice of strength. In the calm of being alone, you begin to see life through a new lens. You realize that your thoughts, emotions, and actions are all reflections of your inner world. And by nurturing that inner world, you create a life of harmony and balance. Buddhism teaches us that suffering comes from attachment to people, to possessions, to external circumstances. When we let go of these attachments, we are no longer chained by the opinions of others or the need for constant validation. Solitude allows us to detach from the world and reconnect with our true selves. In this detachment, we find freedom, and in that freedom, we find peace. Being alone doesn't mean you're lonely. In fact, the most profound connections you can make are with yourself. When you embrace the silence, when you embrace the solitude, you open yourself up to a deeper understanding of who you truly are. It's only in these moments of stillness that you can hear your true voice, the one that is not influenced by outside noise or societal pressure. So, what does it mean to be like a diamond? It means to be rare, valuable, and resilient. Just as a diamond is formed under pressure, so too are you shaped by the experiences and challenges of life. Each moment of solitude, each quiet moment of reflection, helps to refine your character and bring out the brilliance within. You are not defined by what others think of you or by the circumstances you find yourself in. You are defined by your ability to remain grounded, true to yourself, and unshaken by the world around you. As you continue your journey, remember that being alone is not something to fear. It's an opportunity to discover who you really are, to tap into your inner wisdom, and to grow into the person you were always meant to be. You have the power to transform your life, not by seeking external validation, but by finding the strength, peace, and wisdom within yourself. When you stop looking outside for answers and start looking within, you'll realize that everything you need is already there. The peace you seek, the clarity you desire, and the strength you crave are all within you. You are the diamond, unique, beautiful, and strong. The more you embrace your solitude, the more you'll see this truth. So, what's next? How do you take this wisdom and make it a part of your everyday life? Start by embracing your alone time. Use it as a time for reflection, growth, and self-discovery. Don't be afraid of the silence. Don't shy away from being with yourself. The more comfortable you become in your own company, the more you'll realize that you have everything you need to live a fulfilling and peaceful life. In the end, the power of solitude is not just about being alone. It's about embracing the freedom that comes with it. It's about finding your inner peace, discovering your true self, and allowing that self to shine brightly, like the diamond you are. You don't need anyone else to define you. You are enough, just as you are. Remember, solitude is not a punishment, it's a gift. It's the space where you can hear your true thoughts, heal from past wounds, and create the life you want. And as you continue to walk this path, know that you are never truly alone. You have yourself, and you have the wisdom that lies within you. You are your own teacher, your own guide, and your own source of strength. As you go forward, remember, being alone doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong. Like a diamond, you are shaped by the experiences you face. And every moment of solitude is a chance for you to polish your inner brilliance. Now, if this journey has touched your heart and you've learned something valuable, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. There are so many viewers here, but only a few have subscribed. Please, join the community and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What does solitude mean to you? How have you learned to embrace it in your own life? Thank you for being with us throughout this journey. Remember, you are a diamond. The more you embrace yourself, the more your light will shine. Keep walking the path of self-discovery and know that you are always enough.